Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Dog Walk, the daily one take, uncut, unedited series where I take my two dogs out for a walk and discuss whatever's been on my mind that day while trying to avoid suicidal rabbits. And today, I say it's a very special episode because I'm going to be trying to do the exact opposite of what I normally do. I'm still recording one take and unedited because I truly believe that's the only way to be authentic, and there's too much There's too much self-filtering, editing, things like that going on in YouTube. I really truly believe that I want to present myself in an authentic manner, and that means not filtering out my thoughts and showing my warts and all. But it's going to be a very special episode because I'm going to be trying to do the exact opposite of what I normally do in these videos. You may have noticed that normally I try to basically take one topic and discuss it at length, one or 2 points that I go in depth on for a very long time. Today, I'm going to be doing the exact opposite. I actually have a list written down of over a dozen points that I want to hit and discuss, and I'm going to go try to rapid fire through them as much as I can. So, today's topic in general is going to be the meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? And why it's going to be rapid fire is because I don't think there's an answer to the question. So I'm going to propose you a few ideas, but it's up to you to make up your mind and to answer my questions. So first of all, what do we mean by the meaning of life? What's the actual question that's being asked here? Are we asking the definition? Because if so, we have a scientific definition of what is life. What does life mean? Well, life means something that has the capability to replicate itself, right? We're talking about DNA, all that stuff. Although that's not quite true, because other things can replicate themselves, but there is a dictionary scientific definition of life. So, girls, Daisy, Misra, is that what life means, or is it the definition of life? And will we have found the meaning of life once we have fully defined life and all its possibilities throughout the universe? Because right now we only have one data set, right? Life on Earth, but there is very likely other life out there which might not fit our definition. So that's the first point. What's the definition of life? Or, when we're asking what the meaning of life is, are we asking more what's the goal of life? Because if that's the case, well then, at the very basic level, one could argue that it's relatively simple, right? What do all life forms strive for? Well, they strive, first of all, to survive. So, the meaning of life is to survive for as long as you can. Or at least to the second level, one could say that the goal of life is to propagate itself. I was going to say procreate, but I don't think that applies to all life. I think propagate is a bit more of a general term, but it's the same idea, right? It's living long enough to pass on your code, your machine code, to something else, whether that is by cloning yourself and propagating, or by procreating and mixing your code with someone else and creating something new. Speaking of creating something new, one could argue that another goal of life, or of all life forms, is adaptations, right? To take whatever situation your environment throws at you and adapt either yourself or the next generation to those challenges and eventually overcome them. So Is that the meaning of life? When we're asked what it is, are we talking about the goal of life? Now, you'll see that's all very basic, right? This is more kind of the meaning of life form, or the goal of all life forms. But do we want to apply this to a higher level? When we ask what the meaning of life is, are we asking what is the goal of a human, right? And if so, well then there's many, many, many philosophical and religious theories that have been put in place, and a few options that you may consider is maybe your goal of your life, because that's another way to frame the question, right? Not what is the meaning of life, but what is the meaning of my life? And that is very applicable when you're taking it at the level of a single human, right? So a few options could be, well, maybe the goal of my life is to maximize my value. What do you mean by that? What is valuable? Are we talking about something that's valuable to you, or to whom, right? Because it could be limited strictly to yourself as an individual, but you could take it as maximizing the value of your life overall, right? Oh crap, there's another dog coming. Let's go the other way. Mr. Daisy, come, go. Maybe the value that you are trying to maximize is not your benefit or your wealth or things like that. Maybe the value that you're trying to maximize is your happiness. That could be the meaning of your life. I want to be as happy as I can. And how do I achieve that? I personally don't prescribe to that. Prescribe? I'm not sure. One of the two. To that, sorry, French brain. To that theory, I think personally that maybe a more noble way of looking at it is maximizing my value means maximizing the impact of my life. And whether that is the impact that my life has to those around me by and that can be purely that altruistic, right? By donating all my time to the soup kitchen or this or that. It could also be maximizing the impact from a purely selfish point of view, right? By trying to accumulate as much wealth or power as possible so that whatever decision I make impacts, a million people as opposed to just myself or just those 3 people that I fed at the soup kitchen, right? You could also look at it from girls, why are you pulling so much that way? I don't know what's going on, but they really want to go that way. Come on, Miss Fat Daisy. You could also take, as I've argued for in many other videos, you could take a more temporal approach to this, right? How can I maximize the impact of my life over time, right? I want to, maybe the goal of your life is to have your name remembered forever, right? And that could be through many ways. That could be by making the most impactful art installation or writing a novel. It could be by discovering a new scientific theory. It could be by inventing something that will make everyone's lives better for, decades, centuries, millennia to come. Maximizing your impact as a goal for your life can mean very, very, very many different things. But I think we could possibly even take it one level further. When we ask what is the goal of life, or what is the meaning of life, we could take that at the societal level, right? Not just as a single human, but what is the meaning of life in the context of a society? Because humans are social animals. We cannot live, despite what many there's always an exception to every rule. There's always that one hermit, but overall we stand on the shoulders of everyone that came before us. The fact that you're speaking a language, the fact that you're on the internet, the fact everything, even the way you think, as I mentioned in my Nietzsche video, comes from others. So we are members of a society. So maybe the goal of your life is to everything that I just said, right? Happiness, maximize impact, blah blah blah, but not from an individual level, but recognizing that you as an individual are just sort of a cell in the great body of society. And hopefully we'll eventually recognize that when I say society, I'm not limiting myself to your current nation state or group that you identify with, but rather I mean humankind as a whole, right? You, instead of seeing Americans or Canadians as your entire society, as the entire body, maybe we can eventually grow up and recognize that we're all part of the human body, and that our societies are just, let's say, the organs of that body, as opposed to the entire being itself. And it's normal for societies to be different, just like it's normal for what do you see there? Just like it's normal for sorry, she's pulling really hard. It's normal for different societies to act and think differently. And you shouldn't expect the head to do the job of the heart, and you shouldn't expect the stomach to do the job of the legs. So you should not expect every society and everyone and every member of your society to act, think, and be exactly like you. And maybe we should celebrate this diversity and realize that we're all essential in the overall body of humankind. Right? I've already sort of touched on the next point, which is, are we looking at this meaning of life from an altruistic or a selfish point of view, right? Especially when we look at society, what is the meaning of sacrifice? Is it noble to sacrifice yourself for your society, for your ideals, and when I say sacrifice, girls, Mistra, what the hell? Hey, come on, where are you You're smarter than that. What are you doing? Come on, Mistra. Hey, Mistra, come on. Sorry about that. Normally she never does that. Daisy gets tangled. Okay. Whew. Mommy will not be happy when they see that they went through all that grass. Ugh. Especially since everything's melted and there could be ticks out there. But luckily, they have their medicine. Anyway, what was I talking? Sacrifice. And I don't just necessarily mean in the grand sense of sacrificing your life for your country or for your ideals, but even just sacrificing a little bit of your happiness or of your impact or of your clout or of every other thing that I've mentioned so far to the benefit of others. And when I say others, that can mean, again, at any level, right? It could be just the people down the street. It could be your family members. It could be your society as a whole. It could be mankind right now. It could be, ideally, all of mankind coming in the future, even if perhaps that's at the detriment of the body right now, right? Sometimes you need to, I don't know, get rid of your tonsils or feel the pain somewhere in order to get better later, right? You need to increase your fever and suffer through that headache and all that in order to fight off the virus and make the future better. So what's the meaning of life? Is it something that's altruistic, selfish? As always, I think the answer lies somewhere in the middle. I've actually already talked about the other point, which is over time or just now, just me, right? What kind of impact do I want to have, right? Is it just okay to seek happiness or clout or money or impact today? Or is the meaning of life working towards achieving something lasting, something noble that will stay behind once you are gone? They always say you're never truly gone until you're forgotten, and as long as people remember you or your impact, you're still around. Is that true? I don't know. You tell me, right? Depends on your worldview. You could also look at another very much related question in my mind to the meaning of life is, before we can even see a value to that question, we have to ask ourselves another fundamental question, which is, can we change? There's a lot of philosophers out there, and I won't go through all their arguments. I'm sure you can look them up. I'm pretty sure like Schopenhauer is one of the main ones that I have in mind right now. But a lot of philosophers think that, our human nature cannot change, and that we are sort of doomed we're doomed. We can't change. There's a lot of nihilistic point of views that relate to that. So, is the meaning of life? I think that question is very much, or the answer to that question, what is the meaning of life, is very much impacted by your views on whether you believe that humans can change or not. I personally think that we can change, that we progress. I definitely don't feel that I am the same person or that I have the same views and opinions as I did 10 years ago or 20 years ago or when I was a child. So I do truly believe that we can evolve. Other philosophers will think that we're just discovering more about ourselves that was always already there, but I choose to believe that we can change. You don't have to agree with me though, but being able to change or not really impacts or affects what you can see in the meaning of life, and whether you have free will to change and to act, or whether everything is destined. And again, sort of that, it's not necessarily a nihilistic point of view to believe in destiny, but again, I think that the answer to the question of what's the meaning of life will be drastically impacted by whether you believe that we have free will or not, and whether we can change our destiny or ourselves or not, right? Especially if you're the type of person who's been in the past, let's say, a victim of addiction, or who's had violent tendencies, or anything that you may consider as a fault of yourself. Or even you can look at it the other way, and anything that's good about you, right? Over time, you are what you do, you are what you eat. If you may start out as a super altruistic, peace-loving person, but circumstances in your life may change that, and you may be exposed to a string of quote-unquote bad luck that will completely change your personality. I mean, every single cell in our body is replaced every 7 years. So you could say that take your age divided by 7, and that's how many completely different people you've been over your life. But again, whether you believe that's something that you have control over and that you can change through your actions, like going to the Alcoholics Anonymous or things like that. If your personal fault was addiction, is that something that, let's go this way. Hey, what is that? That's a skunk. That's a skunk. Come on, girls. Come on, Misra. Come on, Daisy. Woo. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna keep filming that way because I don't want it to sneak up behind us. I don't want to get sprayed. It's been a crazy few days. You may have noticed in my shadow that I'm carrying my Kali stick and hopefully, maybe I shouldn't say this because my spouse is going to freak out, but by the time she sees this, we'll be back from China. It'll be months later. But yeah, 2 days ago, Mistra and I came face to face within 10 feet, exactly at that bridge there that we just passed, with two huge, I think coyotes, might have been I don't know how to pronounce it, but hybrids between coyotes and wolves, because they were bigger than Mistra. Could have also been two huge, shaggy, gray stray dogs, but anyway. That's why I'm carrying my stick with me, just in case, because especially with Daisy out, she's a one-bite meal. And now I've completely lost my train of thought. But I think it was something along the lines of do you have free will to change your circumstance, to change yourself, or is it all destiny? And were you always going to attend Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever it is, right? To try to change your faults, or were you never going to attend it and there's nothing you can do about it and you were always going to be a victim or an addict or this or that? I could go through an aside. I'll just mention, according to many interpretations of quantum mechanics, all of the above is true, because every single possibility that can happen does happen. But that that can be another way to look at it, right? Another way to frame the meaning of life, because if everything that could happen everywhere does happen, really, what matters in this specific set of circumstances, and is it any more special because it's the one that you're experiencing compared to the infinite amount of other possibilities that an infinite amount of other yous are experiencing right now? That kind of brings me to the next portion of the question, which is something that I've discussed in another video as sort of an answer to Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson's comments. I'll try to post a card, but are we special? Do you believe that humans, prescribe to go back to that video, the pessimistic view that we are small insignificant specks on a small insignificant speck of dust in the entire universe, and we are so temporary that nothing we do matters, and we just the result of pure chance and randomness? Or do you prescribe to the optimistic view that we are special because out of all the energy of the universe, so little of it has organized itself, has reduced its entropy so much to become aware and be able to form thoughts, that we are truly special because we are, that we know of for now, the only way that the universe has to know itself. So how special is that, right? And do we thus have a responsibility to the universe? Is that the meaning of our life, right? To be a vessel for the universe to know itself? Or are we just machines that are meant to reduce entropy, which means taking more disorganized energy and information and organizing it within our own bodies by burning those outside sources of energy. That's another way to look at it, right? And when I say be a way for the universe to know itself, that kind of bleeds into another possibility of the meaning of life, which is, or like, do you believe in God? Is that part of the meaning of your life, right? Is the meaning of your life externally defined by the word of another being, whether you believe it's, sort of the Judeo-Christian single all-powerful God, and his word is king, and the meaning of your life is to be a vessel for God and to eventually go to his paradise. Do you believe that? And I used that example. What I was going to say is also, it could be any God, any religion, right? Is the meaning of your life to ascend slowly but surely, to reintegrate yourself into Brahman at the end of time, all right? And by the way, I have to make an episode on how those Eastern religions connect with modern scientific physics, because there's someone there. The story of Brahman and of Hinduism basically mirrors exactly the Big Bang and the theory of the Big Crunch, right? We were all sneezed out by Brahman, and eventually we will all reintegrate into him. That's pretty much the Big Bang and the Big Crunch. Actually, I'm not going to go that way because it's way too dark. You're not going to see anything. Let's head back the other way, girls. Come on, you sat busy. So yeah, whether you are a religious person or not will definitely impact or change your answer to what is the meaning of life. Because again, if you're not religious and you don't believe in all that nonsense that I just mentioned about, if you take the pessimistic view and you don't believe that we are a way for the universe to know itself and we have a responsibility to it, and that's part of the meaning or the goal of our existence, well, it's very easy to take the nihilistic position and think that nothing matters, and that, therefore there is no meaning to life, and you can do whatever the hell you want because nothing matters. That's another very valid position. What else is there? So really, what it comes down to is, what do you think brings value? What do you think brings meaning? What is the value of, not just what brings value to, but also what is the value of your life? And as part of answering the meaning of life, what is valuable enough that you would be willing to lay your life down for it? Whether it's your ideals or your country or anything else, your family, right? Would you be willing to sacrifice yourself for your son to survive, right? All of those questions are very valid, and I can't answer them for you because everyone has a different point of view. And since I'm a moral relativist, maybe I'll post cards to the videos where I discuss that. I have my personal opinion, but I also truly believe that your own point of view and your position is valuable, and you need to come up with that answer for yourself. Don't let anyone else tell you what the answer is. Few final points. Since I'm a big fanboy, I have to mention Nietzsche. So, is struggle part of the meaning of life? If you've watched any of my Nietzsche videos, you understand why I say that, because that was a core part of his philosophy. Or, on the other hand, do you think that The meaning of life is to avoid struggle and to seek comfort. And notice that I'm saying comfort, not happiness. I do believe that those are very related, but very different things, right? So, is it the meaning of life to try to avoid struggle as much as possible and to be as comfortable as possible? Hey, maybe that's it, right? Your answer to what is the meaning of life can also depend on whether you believe in monism or dualism, right? Is your body and your mind a single entity, or is your mind something that's separate from your body? And if so, will it live on after, or is it a pure manifestation of processes within your body that will cease to exist? Girls, why are you pulling so much? Once your body ceases to exist or ceases to function. Because if you do believe in the mind, and I say mind, you can use spirit, you can use soul, you can use whatever other term you want to, but if you believe that there's something else that comes after this, that can definitely change the meaning of your life, right? To go back to Eastern religions, right, and Buddhism, right? Do you believe that your spirit will be reincarnated later on, and therefore the meaning of your life should be to try to do as many quote-unquote good things as possible so that you can increase your position in your next life and come closer and closer and closer, not necessarily to reintegrating Brahman, but rather to ascending to Buddhahood, right? Or alternatively, do you believe in a more of a Western thought where the goal of your life is just to live a good life now so that you can enter heaven and be happy in God's kingdom forevermore? Right? Those are very, very different when you actually think about it. The practical effects of it may be similar, but in the end, the implications of both systems are drastically different. And that's, again, not mentioning the whole, what if you believe that everything stops and there is no religion or this or that, or, your spirit, your energy doesn't carry on after the end of your physical body. I've sort of mentioned Ascension. I've seen many different theories, I'll say, on how to ascend. And to go to the two most direct opposites, some religions are teaching to tell you that the only way to ascend is to surrender and to become one with the universe. Whereas on the other side, other traditions think that the only way to ascend is to work towards it to the point where you reach a certain level of understanding and then you can ascend. Well, those two things are complete opposites, and they will completely change the meaning of your life and what you think you should need to do in order to live a meaningful life. And see, I kind of answered the question using the same word, right? What's the meaning of life? It's to live a meaningful life. So try to ignore that. But really, since we're back home and I've been talking for a long time, I must say that I believe, or really, when you think about it, the real answer to all of this, Misa and Daisy, is the meaning of life is obviously 42, the number of this episode. On that note, have a good night. Thanks for listening.